to court today and asked the judge to order again what she already ordered last night. Now the question is, how are we going to know if the government is actually doing that? And that's what the judge put some very, very, very fine point on today.
Simon, you've had cases where you said that ICE has actually gone and bent over backward to bring people back who were deported illegally. How quickly were those cases carried out? Anything close to what's happening here?
Yeah, there's no reason that this case needed to become a national issue. There's no reason that this case needed to go to the United States Supreme Court. And it's been the government that's done that at every step of the way. It's been the government that turned this into a national issue. It was the government who appealed the judge's original, very reasonable and modest order all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. And now it's the government who is coming into court saying, yes, Judge, we blew off your first deadline. We haven't yet taken any steps, or we're not prepared to show you what steps we've taken to comply with your order. Wrongful deportations happen from time to time. And when the government realizes that they've done that, they facilitate the return. They have a policy about it. Courts have ordered it all up and down the United States. For years, we provided several examples in our briefing. And the Supreme Court didn't have any issue whatsoever. 9-0 unanimously agreed that the district judge's order that they facilitate his return was absolutely proper, is in effect today, right now. There was one verb that they weren't sure what it meant. They asked her to clarify it, and she did.
And to be clear, the family has requested just an update on how Kilmar is doing. They weren't even able to provide that today. Your response to that?
Yeah, that was the most shocking thing of all, that the attorney for the government wasn't even prepared to answer the question, where is Kilmar Abrego today and what is his custodial status? I was very dismayed and disheartened by the fact that they wouldn't answer such a straightforward question.
And like in your position is you know nothing about his current state?
No, neither we nor the family have been able to make any contact with him. This is one of the principal human rights violations that occurs in that facility, is that inmates and detainees in that facility are held incommunicado.
Simon, how disappointing it is that the government is pushing back and fighting this effort that you guys are trying to bring him back to the country?
I had really hoped that after a 9-0 loss at the United States Supreme Court, they would essentially say, all right, we get it, and start acting in good faith. I do have hope that now that they've seen that the district judge is not going to be taking this lightly, that they will start acting in good faith, and that we're actually going to see a meaningful status report tomorrow that's going to detail meaningful activity taking place. But of course, if they don't, we'll be prepared to respond.
Attorney, what if President Bukele says that there are charges against him in Salvador? Would that mean that he wouldn't need to come back?
I think it's preposterous that there be charges against him in El Salvador. He hasn't been in that country since the age of 16, about a decade ago.
But in your sure reply, you said that you noted that the Solicitor General was claiming that there may be reasons for El Salvador to hold him.
The Solicitor General, in their last brief to the United States Supreme Court, sort of made a vague, kind of waved their hands at, well, we might have some information that El Salvador might have some reason that they want to hold him. What we responded is, essentially in keeping with what the judge said at the very start of the first hearing in this case last week. She started the first hearing in this case by saying, I'm going to decide this case based on the evidence in the record. And there's no evidence in the record of any criminality, gang ties, any of that stuff. I mean, at this point, I have to assume that if they had any of that evidence, they would have filed it. And that's essentially what the judge said today. Again, she reiterated, I'm going to assume, based on the fact that you haven't filed any evidence, that you have no evidence. Bueno, el día de hoy, después del fallo de la Corte Suprema ayer, que falló en una decisión unánime, 9-0, que la orden original de la jueza es propia y correcta, de que Estados Unidos, el gobierno estadounidense, tiene que facilitar el regreso de Kilmar Abrego Garcia a Estados Unidos, tomando todos los pasos razonablemente posible, tan pronto que se pueda. Eso fue el fallo de la Corte Suprema anoche. La Corte Suprema, había una palabra que es la palabra efectuar, que la Corte Suprema dijo, bueno, no estamos seguros de qué quiso decir la jueza cuando dijo efectuar, y por lo tanto, esta misma noche, la noche de ayer, la jueza puso una nueva orden explicando que efectuar quiere decir tomar todos los pasos razonables posibles para que Kilmer regrese a los Estados Unidos. Luego la jueza dijo, ok, entonces ustedes también tienen que avisarme 3 cosas. Primero, ¿dónde está Kilmer y bajo cuál custodia? Segundo, ¿qué es lo que se han hecho hasta la fecha? ¿Verdad? Porque han tenido ya una semana. Durante la mitad de esta semana la orden de la jueza estaba en efecto. ¿Qué hicieron ustedes durante este tiempo para efectuar mi orden? Para cumplir, mejor dicho, para cumplir con mi orden. Y tercero, ¿qué es lo que ustedes van a hacer de aquí en adelante para facilitar el regreso de Kilmar Abrego García a los Estados Unidos? La jueza puso una fecha límite que antes de la audiencia de hoy, Estados Unidos, el gobierno tenía que contestar esas 3 preguntas. No lo hicieron. Entonces, la jueza puso una orden. Bueno, primero reafirmó su orden de que Estados Unidos tiene que traerlo de regreso tan pronto posible. Y segundo, ordenó que diariamente, incluso fin de semana, tienen que dar una actualización a la Corte detallada y de una persona que tiene conocimiento personal, no un abogado, sino un oficial del gobierno, tiene que actualizar a la Corte diariamente de qué es lo que se está haciendo. Va a haber otra audiencia el miércoles, pero entre aquí y miércoles, si nosotros no estamos conformes con lo que el gobierno está haciendo o con el nivel de detalle que el gobierno está dando sobre sus acciones, nosotros siempre podemos someter algo por escrito a la Corte.
Abogado, ¿qué opciones tiene la jueza si el gobierno no le da esta información que ella solicitó? ¿Cuáles son las opciones para hacer cumplir esta orden? Y en segundo lugar, si me permite, dada la nueva explicación de la jueza sobre la orden, ¿existe, ustedes reconocen un escenario donde el gobierno cumpla la orden y aún así no regrese su defendido?
La jueza tiene bastante poder para enforzar sus propias órdenes. Lo que está haciendo en este momento, y es correcto, es dar al gobierno básicamente una breve oportunidad para cumplir, mejor dicho, por las buenas. Pero no vamos a estar con brazos cruzados entre aquí y el miércoles. Definitivamente vamos a estar contestando diariamente cada actualización del gobierno y dando nuestro punto de vista a la jueza. De ahí, yo no creo que hay nadie en este país que crea que Estados Unidos es impotente para traer a Kilmer de nuevo. Yo creo que todo el mundo sabe que está ahí en El Salvador, que está ahí en esta cárcel en El Salvador, porque Estados Unidos lo puso allá, y que prácticamente sacarlo de ahí, pedir que se lo devuelven a la embajada estadounidense en Santa Tecla para traerlo de nuevo, es algo realmente sencillo. Y si nosotros se lo pedimos al gobierno de El Salvador de buena fe, si nosotros hacemos esta solicitud, pues yo creo que todo este país entiende que el gobierno de El Salvador no tiene razón para no cumplir con esta solicitud.
Well, sir, if the government comes back, I'm so sorry.
Sure.
If the government comes back every day and they have no substantial status updates, what remedy is there to ensure that Mr. Abrego Garcia will be sent back home?
Yeah, I can't get into right now, sort of if-then kind of scenarios about remedies, but, we've been working with the law firm Quinn Emanuel Urquhart Sullivan. They've assigned, I think, more than a dozen attorneys to this case. They've done a fantastic job of briefing this case. The Supreme Court asked us to file a brief on Tuesday at 5. We filed it by Monday at 5. We're going to leave no stone unturned in, asking the judge for the appropriate remedies if the government doesn't comply with her orders.
Pregunta para Jennifer en español por acá. Carolina de Telemundo 44.
Si no quieres
Si está
contestar,
dispuesta a hablar.
si quieres. Prefiere no hablar. Dice que prefiere no hablar.
Can you repeat what you said about there's three things that they're being asked to do, and every single day the judge is expecting them to do it?
There's one thing that they're being asked to do. The one thing they're being asked to do is to take all reasonable steps to facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. In the meanwhile, they're asked to provide three pieces of information. One is, what is the current status of Mr. Abrego Garcia? Where is he and under whose custody? Two, what steps have you taken to date? And then three, essentially, what's the plan? What steps are you going to take going forward? But the thing that the government was asked to do was to bring him back. And that's what they need to really get started on now. No more games.
What's your take on why he's saying that this is impactful? It seems like a very straightforward thing. Like, is it just foot dragging, or do you really think that is there some legal argument that they could possibly come up with?
No, I think there's, again, I don't think there's anyone in this country who believes the government when they say, well, we don't know how to do this. We can't figure out how to get someone out of a Salvadoran jail. They got Kristi Noem out of a Salvadoran jail, right? I mean, they can get Kilmar Abrego Garcia out of that same jail.
Yo solamente le quiero preguntar cuál fue tu reacción cuando no supieron contestar dónde se encontraba aquí.
Yo realmente estaba incrédulo cuando el abogado del gobierno dijo que él no pudo contestar la pregunta tan sencilla de dónde está Kilmer y bajo cuál custodia. Eso es increíble que ni siquiera ese dato él pudo dar a la corte. Y lo que demuestra es que realmente el gobierno está jugando con la vida de un ser humano. Lo están tomando como un asunto legal, un asunto político. Eso no es un asunto político, eso es un ser humano. Eso es un caso bastante sencillo, realmente sencillo. O sea, se equivocaron, cometieron un error y ahora hay que rectificar este error y poner las cosas como estaban. El que está complicando todo esto y el que está haciendo un show a nivel nacional, tomando esto a la Corte Suprema, eso ha sido el gobierno desde el principio y ahora ya es hora de que dejen de jugar.
Sé que la familia no quiere hablar, pero usted ha hablado con ellos. ¿Cuál es el sentir de ellos en estos momentos tras estos cambios?
No puedo hablar por ellos en ese momento.
Abogado, el presidente Trump dijo que en un principio se pensó que Kilmar era del Tren de Aragua. Eso lo dijo en la Casa Blanca el presidente. ¿Ustedes sabían que al principio lo habían confundido también del Tren de Aragua?
Han dicho un montón de cosas desde la Casa Blanca, en ruedas de prensa, en tweets, pero yo soy un abogado y en este caso en la Corte no han sometido una sola página de evidencia en su contra. All right, thank you.
Sí, sí, sí.
No, I'm not. I'm watching this. Thank you.
Figure that out.
Something else.
Who did that? Did you do that? Got it?
Pardon me? Thank you.
Excuse me.
Should turn off. And we're done with it, so if it dies, you know.
I know you all want to talk to me at this point, but does anybody need anything else?
Hey, sorry. Right, I know. I'm telling you. So that's why I said about DC. I was like,
I think we should interview her.
that's why I said DC because it's like everything's like overly
Yeah, don't
handled.
generalize.